murder wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Before we get started, if you want to see more awesome comic book videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click. What's up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? We're about to get into the video, but first, I want to talk to you about a little comic that I discovered, a little indie comic called Nani, Volume 2. It's a story about these 2 women who are sisters, Mina and Laman. I could be getting that name wrong, 100%. Open to that. They get roped up into this crazy adventure that, drags them into the realm of African folklore and fantasy. It all kicks off when Mina's sister Laman, her boyfriend, some guy she's dating, try to kidnap these girls, and it all goes askew real fast. Because these women are not damsels in distress, they can defend themselves. Yeah, they do get captured at first, but it's not like one of those situations where you're like, oh my god, who's gonna come and save them? Not only can, Mina more than anybody else can protect herself, but then we discover that she has some abilities that we just weren't expecting. I feel like this is one of those comics that's written for us, by us, but is also something that I think anybody could get into. You get to see these 2 strong women get caught in the middle of this African tribal fantasy battle, this conflict that is something that is on a level of things you would typically only see in like anime and manga, written from an African perspective. The reason why I'm bringing all this up is because this comic is on Kickstarter right now with only a scant few days left to go. You can get digital copies, you can get physical print copies, you can get hardback copies, depending on what levels you back it at. And more importantly, I feel like this is the type of project that is very important because Nani, I feel, is a piece of disruptive media. It's not something that's meant to necessarily tear down the ideas of Marvel and DC. Those comics are great too. I read them all the time, but I also feel it's important that we support comics that offer us those opportunities to show real and true diversity and representation in what is ostensibly my favorite medium of entertainment. And if you are interested in this, go check out the link in the description below. I also have it in a pinned comment. You can go check out that Kickstarter link. And if you like what you see, go back it. And of course, if you're in a situation where you don't have the means to back this comic, that's okay. Share the link with people who you think would be interested and help make Nani Volume 2 not only a reality, but help it grow into something that you could possibly see in your comic book shops. Now that all that's said, let's get on to the video. What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today's video, we are going to be talking about Juggernaut #1 by Fabian Nicieza and Ron Garney. And in this video, we're going to realize what Juggernaut has been up to since he got unceremoniously hucked into Limbo by Illyana back during the pages of Matthew Rosenberg's Uncanny X-Men. And more importantly, he's going to meet someone who reminds him so much of himself, who has a power that counterbalances his own. And if that weren't enough, they know just who he can use his powers on that would help redeem him and make him a more popular character. We're gonna talk about all that and more right now, but first, wash your damn hands. We haven't really seen much of the Juggernaut since Uncanny X-Men #21, where General Callahan used his anti-mutant power device to pretty much nullify Illyana's mutant X gene, which was really the only thing that was keeping her from turning into a monstrous Limbo demon. And when that happened, Juggernaut tried to stop her, but she was able to subdue Juggernaut and rip the Crimson Gem of Sidorak right out of his body. And when she did so, she crushed it and sent him to Limbo. And since he's been trapped in Limbo this whole time, the X-Men have pretty much leveled themselves up and become this, mutant nation, and Black Tom Cassidy's still pining for him, and supposedly it's even been insinuated that they've met up with each other since then, but we haven't really known exactly what Juggernaut's been up to, and well, now we know. He's essentially been working for Damage Control as their own personal Wreck-It Ralph. Any contracts that damage control picks up to have buildings leveled, he gets in on them. He comes along, destroys the buildings, and Bob's your uncle. The interesting thing about it though is that Kane seems to be not necessarily happy with his new status quo, but he doesn't seem to be very upset about it either. The problem is that there are certain buildings that they want to take down, but they just can't. And we learn that some of the buildings haven't been cleared yet because they have homeless people and squatters living in them. Come to find out, some of those people are already concerned that Juggernaut is about to come destroy what is essentially their only home. But when Juggernaut tries to intervene, something stops him. And that's the thing that Juggernaut finds the most interesting in all this. Juggernaut is unstoppable. He doesn't know who it is that attacked him, but he's been in the game long enough to know exactly what they used. He knows that they use some form of kinetic force powers, and if they have power that's strong enough to keep him from moving, that's someone who's gonna need some help. Another concern of Kane's is the fact that the building that he goes to where he figures this person is hiding out, it's a building that he can tell just from how much destruction he's caused in his lifetime that this building isn't going to be standing too much longer, and that's without him doing anything to it. You see, the reason why Kane is interested is because, for those who haven't been keeping up, Kane actually has been less a villain and more so of an ally to the X-Men over the last few years. During the run where he was sent into Limbo by magic, he was actually working alongside the X-Men, and not because they were making him or out of some strange sense of duty, but because he wanted to. And right now, he's concerned that this person who attacked him is possibly a mutant, and if they are, he wants to get them the help that they're going to need and wants to get them to Krakoa. And the more this person uses their powers on him, the more he's able to realize exactly what it is that they can do, that they're not using force fields or even kinetic energy blasts. What they're actually using is kind of the opposite. They're not just shooting off kinetic blasts of energy, they're able to manipulate kinetic motion at will. And when this character reveals himself, it makes it even more obvious why Kane Marco has taken a shine to this person. Because when met, something that was a common misconception of people when they would see Juggernaut back in the old days, back in the 70s and early 80s, is that they would assume that Juggernaut is a mutant. Something that would often tilt him and make him exclaim that he's not a mutant. It was even one of my favorite and probably one of the worst delivered lines in the history of the X-Men 90s animated series, when Juggernaut says, "I'm not a mutant, my powers are magical." This woman, who goes by the name D-Cell, is not a mutant. She exclaims it over and over throughout this comic. Anytime that is brought up that she might be a mutant, she seems to take a lot of offense to it. She doesn't even really seem to know who Juggernaut is at first, because when she tries to attack him, the first thing she tries to figure out is why her powers don't 100% work on him. Technically, if she can use her powers on him before he gets moving, she's pretty much got him dead to rights. But if he's already in motion, it becomes that much tougher. And one thing's for certain, this is almost kind of like one of those immovable object meets the unstoppable force type situation. And what ultimately happens is that they wear each other out, with Juggernaut trying to brute force his way through her deceleration fields, and D-Cell just wearing out from the sheer exhaustion of exerting her powers on that level. They both pass out, but when they do so, part of the building collapses around them and she winds up getting trapped under it. And Juggernaut has to save her, and he does, as a matter of fact, but she's been hurt and she has to be taken to the hospital. Kane even stays at the hospital with her, and he's trying to get her to know her, he's trying to help her, and once again, he even tries to coach her up a little bit, even letting her know that her name is kind of counterintuitive and it makes her sound more like a battery than a person who can decelerate kinetic motion. But right now, he realizes that she has great power, and of course, we all know the old Spider-Man saying, with great power comes great responsibility, and Juggernaut just feels like she could be doing so much more with her abilities than, you know, getting hits on her YouTube channel, or rather, in this case, it's RoxTube, because, you know, it's, you know, anyway, Roxxon owns everything. And even though Kane doesn't really seem to think very highly of what she's using her powers for, she thinks that he could actually get in on the action himself, knocking over buildings. Yeah, sure, that's cool. But what if he could upgrade his image and make himself a real life superhero? superhero, something that would make him stand out on his own. I mean, yeah, sure, he's technically been a superhero in the past. He has erred on the side of good before at certain points in time, but he's never really been just like a super duper legit superhero in the same way that characters like Thor or Iron Man or Spider-Man would be. Heck, even Venom is technically more of a superhero as a reformed villain than Juggernaut is. And what she thinks is that he could use her platform to turn himself into that kind of hero, capturing his superhero shenanigans on social media and using it to elevate his profile. And she knows just the problem for him to tackle that'll get him all the clicks. A character that Juggernaut has gone toe-to-toe with in the past. Who else would it be? She wants him to smash the Hulk. This book is very interesting. I like the fact that they don't necessarily address in this issue exactly how he got out of Limbo. I don't even know if he's even actually been addressed. I know I've seen mention of Juggernaut in some random and sundry issues here and there. There was some stuff that came up after War of the Realms, but like, I don't know. I haven't really been keeping up with Juggernaut and all his various appearances in other comics that were not X-Men related or X-Men centric. But I do think it's interesting that they're trying to tell a really tight story here, you know, and I actually like the direction they're taking with this character, because one of my biggest concerns when Juggernaut was kicked into Limbo towards the end of Matthew Rosenberg's run on the Uncanny X-Men is that when Dawn of X started, I was kind of concerned that Juggernaut would wind up going back to being a villain, and I'm kind of glad he's not. I'm glad he's actually gotten away from that. That's one of those things that I always appreciate when characters who have been villains for like ever eventually wake up and realize that, you know, maybe this villain thing ain't working out. Maybe I just do other stuff. It's one of the reasons why I think Venom has caught on like wildfire, like it has, you know, just in the recent last 2 or 3 years, even more so than what Venom did back in the day. I mean, yeah, Venom was mega ultra popular, and he, you know, probably was even more popular then than he is now. But I think that this version of Venom that we have now works a lot better than the one we had in the past. And I feel the same way about this Juggernaut already in just one issue. But anyways, let me know what you think about the current state of Juggernaut. Wash your damn hands and sound off in the comments. So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in $1, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerd901.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus ultra.